So, makeshift climbing harness from a length of rope. Many of us started climbing this way in the 70s and the early 80s because we didn't have harnesses, or we couldn't quite afford them. So I climbed like with 1-inch tape with something like this for a couple of years. It does work. Of course, modern harnesses are better. Okay, so you haven't got a whole pile of 1-inch tape. You don't want to chop several meters off your climbing rope to make yourself a harness. So what are you going to do? I'm going to show you another way to essentially achieve the same thing. It's unorthodox. You'd only do it in an emergency, but you can do it with gear that you've got on hand. So I'm going to show you quickly how to make a makeshift harness out of typical sewn shoulder length slings. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a waist loop. So just going to throw these shoulder length slings over my shoulder. How about that? So in the sewn slings, we're going to take the sewn part and we're going to get them kind of near one end. We're going to do the simple girth hitch, which we've all done a million times. Again, this is for emergencies, right? So don't do this if you don't have to. This is for an emergency. This is better than a rope around the waist. So you're going to get a locking beaner, and this is too loose. And back in the day, we could have made this with 1-inch tape, and if you don't have a knife, you could do a water knot. You could cut this with your knife and make it the right length with a water knot. But to the extent that you don't have a knife, you can wrap this. Okay, so we're going to wrap, and then we're going to flip, and we're going to get it nice and tight by wrapping the beaner. And this is not the clip-in point. This is really just to get the waist sling the right tension. Okay, so once we get it with the right tension, we get the locking beaner, we slide these down. Okay, now this whole thing goes to our back. So now we've got a sling around our waist. It's not too much different than tying in with the climbing rope, but you want it so tight enough so it doesn't go over your hips if you go upside down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the leg loops. So you get the sewn part, put that on the bottom. We're going to step in. We'll do the first one, and we're going to get it, so it's comfortable. And we're going to do a overhand on a bite here to get it kind of the right length. So there's one leg loop. Same thing. Put the sewn part on the bottom. Stepping in, and same idea. We're going to do another overhand, and keep them smooth. And so there we got the two leg loops, and we got the waist loop. And to bring the whole thing together, now we got a locking beaner, which will, this is sort of like the suspender. So you would lock that. And to the extent that you are rappelling, well, now you got leg loops that are going to hold your weight, and you can adjust them a bit, right? This will ride up a bit until the leg loops come tight. If you were going to tie in, again with the climbing rope, it's the same idea, right? It's a little, you got to go through both of those loops, and you got to go through here. And you finish your 8 like this, and where you go, now you're tied in to your makeshift harness. So this is better than just the rope around the waist. Now you're actually putting the weight on the back of your legs. Way less of a chance of collapsing your rib cage. It's not going to ride up because of the leg loops. And as well, we got 3 independent slings. The beaner here really isn't doing anything other than keeping it together so you don't lose your harness when you untie. Now, if you're going to rappel, the same kind of thing. Okay, so I'll just grab my stitch plate. You could clip into that beaner, that would work. You could clip it there, and and lock it. That would work. Or you could go right into the slings, depending on your length. Otherwise, it's the same deal. Those two methods are better than just tying into the end of the rope. On the one hand, you would have to sacrifice a piece of your climbing rope, which you would only ever do, in an absolute necessity. This one uses gear on hand. It uses 4, depending on your waistline, 4 shoulder length slings, 1 for each leg, 2 for the waist, and then you bring it in, there'd be a number of ways that you could do this. This was just quick and easy, and it's easy to get the sling back when you're done. Anyway, in the vein of respecting the risk, those are 2 ways to make a makeshift harness in an emergency, and each one of those are a better option than just tying in with the end of the climbing rope like Edward Whymper did, and Chris Bonington and Don Whillans and Joe Brown early on in their careers, in the early Whymper in the 1860s. Joe Brown and Whillans would have been in the 1950s. Later, Whillans invented one of the first seat harnesses, which changed everything. Anyways, that's all for now. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Respect the Risk Rock Climbing Mentorship Channel, and have a good day. See you next time.